Welcome back, treasures. Today I'm going to be redoing some boxes like this box here, and I'm going to turn it into, just a decorative kind of witchy box, a little altar, travel altar, if you will. So if you want to see how I redo this box, stick around. These boxes have a wood burning on them, and so I'm just going to use this plastic wood filler to fill in where this wood has been burned. Now, this particular box that I'm working with right here held pistachios at one time, but you could use any unfinished box, something that you get from the craft store that doesn't have any images burned onto it would be the easiest, because then you would get to skip this step. But you could use a finished box too and just sand it down even more. That would work as well. You can get boxes, cigar boxes, from the cigar store for very cheap if you don't smoke cigars, and often for free if you buy cigars from them as well. So I just filled that in, let it dry, and then sanded it down, and then it kind of turned out like this one. However, this one in particular just had some stain on it as well, and I tried to sand down, but some of the filler came out of some of the burned areas, and you can still see some of the darker kind of ink stain that's on there. In hindsight, I should have sealed this first and then painted it, but you know what? I didn't. So I just painted this red over it, and you can see straight through it, and it took many coats to cover up this dark pattern that's on here. But for this particular box, I'm going to paint part of it red and part of it black. So I'm starting with the red here. I want it to be kind of towards the top of the box. And so this is just a base coat to get me started. So I'm going to do this. I'll do a couple of coats of red here, and then I will get to the first part of the black. Now I'm not painting the inside of the box. I am going to finish it out in something else, but I really didn't want to paint where the top of the box slides in, because just painting even one side of the top was making it harder to slide that top in. So I didn't want to add any additional width to that top sliding that wasn't needed. So I refrained from painting the very sides of the top and where they would slide into the inside as well. So here I'm just putting a layer of black, and you'll see the black covered far better than the red did. And I'm going to paint the bottom part of the top and the bottom of the box itself. And then I want to paint around that edge of the box where I didn't paint the red, and you'll see why I'm doing that in a upcoming step. If you're new here, I want to say thanks for joining me today. And if you'd like to be a treasure with all the rest of us, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my future crafting. Now I still have a little bit on the sides that need to be fixed here, and some things are still bleeding through the red. So I want to finish that off and try to cover it up more before I do the next step of the black. But I want a nice finished edge on my top. So I'm just going to tape off the ends before I paint my red again. And so I'm going to paint the ends, and then I'm going to cover up some of those parts that were bleeding through by just giving it one more coat in an opposite direction as well. And if it doesn't come out kind of smooth, then I can come over again with a final coat and smooth it back out in the same direction. But I just want to give another layer over the parts that are specifically bleeding through. And I pull off that tape, so satisfying. Now that I have my red covered really well, I'm going to come back with my black, and I want to get that bottom line wet. And then I'm doing something that's kind of in between a actual painting and a dry brush. So I kind of paint it at the bottom of that line and then drag it up into the red so that it kind of looks like it's bleeding, or I think it kind of looks like a smoky fireness, like a black fire, or some kind of like fungus or mold or something that's like climbing up into this red. So I really love this look, and I make the corners come up farther than the longer kind of span of the sides here, and I just really love how this turned out. Now, part of the sides of this particular box that did have some wood burning that was pretty deep, when I sanded it, it still left a little indentation there. So when I'm coming over with my black, I just made sure that the black came up all the way over that particular part of indentation, because otherwise you could really see it. And then you couldn't see it after that, so as long as I came up far enough. Then I just covered the whole entire thing with Podge. I needed to seal it in a way that that paint wasn't going to chip off in the future. So I just love Mod Podge and decided that I would use a matte finish on this so it wouldn't be overly shiny. And I'm just going to cover the entire box that I painted. So I'm not going to do the inside with Podge yet, or where the top would slide into the box itself. And while I was waiting for this to dry, because always let your things dry in between your stages, I went to Canva and made a design to cut in my Cricut for both the top outside and top inside of the box. So the outside's going to have just this vinyl on it. It's a little triple moon with a pentagram in the middle, and I'm not measuring. I'm just gonna eyeball it and try to get it into the center as best as possible, and I think I did a pretty good job there. So I just get that on and then peel that off, and I'm going to give another coat of Mod Podge on top of this. And that's because you can really feel the lip of where that vinyl meets the wood, or that painted wood there. And so putting a final layer of Mod Podge on top really helps to seal it in and smooth out that lip. And on the inside, I am going to put this sticker of a Ouija board. And I'm covering the inside of the box with just a black cardstock, but I went ahead and painted all of the corners black just in case my lines don't match up perfectly. You won't be able to see kind of that wood behind it. So I pre-cut the cardstock just to fit on each one of these sides and the bottom, and I'm using, again, Mod Podge in order to secure the paper into the box. And I'm just using my bone folder to help get it stuck down to the sides. And I cut it just shy of where the grooves are for the top of the box to fit into the box. I wanted to make sure I still had a nice flush, easy, smooth fit for that top. So I get all of the paper in here, and then I make sure to get it really nice and smushed. It's a very technical term there, smushed down. I also need a planchette for the Ouija board, and I found these stars at Walmart that are the perfect thickness of wood, and one corner of the star is the perfect size for this little mini planchette. So I'm going to take it to my Dremel, cut them off and drill a little hole in them, but make them black as well. Finally, I just took a little tiny nail and hammered it into the corner of the box. Now I did actually bend this nail up a little bit as well so that the box could turn out like this. I absolutely love it. And when you take the lid off, you can flip it upside down to make a little Ouija board. And the planchette is hanging from this little nail hook inside the box. And since it's black, you don't just lose it. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you would like to see more, go ahead and hit that playlist. And until next time, friends, keep crafting.